Hi, welcome to the Avid Knits podcast. My name is Sarah, and today is Friday, March. It is 64 and pouring rain here in Houston, Texas. We haven't had rain like this since last fall. So it's been great. I woke up this morning to a house shaking thunderstorm, which was fantastic, and I promptly fell right back to sleep because that's what I do. And then I overslept, because also that's what I do. In my defense, though, my son was snuggled up next to me while I was doing that. So don't feel too bad. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry, both as Avid Knits. We do have an Avid Knits podcast group if you would like to join up over there. I am a very inconsistent podcaster. I have discovered. We went to New York in February. It was probably only 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 at the most. It's only been that long, you guys. And the whole virus scare had just started. Nobody was canceling flights or discouraging travel or anything like that yet. And then we got home, and I think probably 4 days later, everybody was basically like, stay off the planes. So yeah, it's weird times, isn't it, guys? So I guess I, like myself, I've been watching podcasts because, what else are you going to do? And I know that a lot of podcasters are coming out of the woodwork trying to offer a little bit of fluff in the midst of all of the problems. And so I thought that I would kind of join in on that maybe and see if I had something that you guys cared to hear about. So I'm coming to you in yoga pants, full disclosure, yoga pants, a hand knit sweater, and some hand knit socks with, I think I put mascara on. That's it. So y'all are getting the bare basic Sarah today. This is my everyday. And I kind of wanted to bring it that way because I think we're all just at our very basic everyday right now. I know kids are out of school. Houston has canceled school for the rest of the school year. I think a lot of places in the U.S. have kind of decided to go that route. As of 2 days ago, there is a ban on groups of 10 or more. So places are still open. Restaurants obviously are not open. Delivery, takeout, but you can't eat there. And in a city of 7 million people, we have over 11,000 restaurants. We eat out more than any city in the U.S. except LA and New York. A very vast part of our workforce is in the service industry. There's a lot of people right now without jobs, and it's really heartbreaking. So we're doing our level best to support our places. We have an authentic Hunan restaurant that just opened. I think she's been open for a little under a year. She's still small fry. She's a wonderful lady. She teaches an art class. She's a local artist. So we've been trying to, make sure that we eat there, every few days, make sure we can try to help her out a little bit. She's still just starting. There are so many restaurants like that where we're at. We have a really popular taco truck up the road. I don't actually know what they're doing. I guess we haven't driven by to see if they're still... Everybody just stand apart, because it's one of those where you just walk up in the line. So ultimately, as long as you keep enough distance between you and your neighbor, I don't know if they can really say anything because it's not an established, it's not a building. I never thought about that. Maybe we'll have tacos tonight. For those of you who don't know, if the words coffee or tacos are involved, I am totally in at any given point of any given day. Yeah, we are fine. To be absolutely honest, I work from home. I sample knit, I work from home, and we homeschool. So Fridays are usually our waffle days. So usually I take my son out for waffles in the morning. We have a favorite brunch place down the road. We're regulars. Everybody knows us. And they are very cool about me taking in whatever schoolwork we didn't get to Monday through Thursday. We have Monday through Thursday school week. They're really cool about me taking in an extra assignment or some vocabulary words, and us coming in around 11 and hanging out until they close at 2:30. And everybody stops by the table. Everybody talks and stops and chats. That monster green sweater that I was knitting the last time that I spoke to you guys, when I got done with the front and the back, one of my waiters is very similar in size to the gentleman I was knitting that sweater for, and I made him try it on and see where it sat. And he, unfortunately, is a lot longer in the torso than what Josh is, and I should have totally adjusted for length. I should have done this before I put a front and a back on it so I could adjust the length because it's a bottom-up sweater. You don't care. I'll get back to that. Anyway, so my point is that we're close enough with them to be able to break down that barrier between waiter and customer, and it's more of having your friend serve you breakfast, which is really nice. Of course, when I do that, like, obviously I'm taking up your table. So I kind of monitor how many people are shuffling around me. So if I'm there and there are 4 rotations of a table around me, then I try to think about, okay, if we're at a brunch place, a 15% tip on that table is probably if it was 2 people, probably $3 or $4 range, because, brunch isn't really super expensive. I'm a pretty generous tipper when it comes down to it. So I try to think, okay, well, if I had a $5 tip per table, round, we'll say, how many rotations did they get through? Because that is how many tables could have possibly gone where I was sitting. Does that make sense? Like, how many rotations? They probably could have sat 3 tables where I was during the whole time that I was there. And then I try to go from there. So I try to kind of pay like at a $5 an hour rate, and then my normal tip, which is more than they normally make. So, which is nice, because then I know that whenever I tip you, if I come in on a Friday, they're really good about sharing who's going to be the waiter, that way, hey, I don't Brandon's low on a cell phone bill this week or something, or his tips haven't been that good, or he missed a day or something, like, give him Sarah's table, and he's knows he's going to get probably a $20 tip out of me, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, but if you're banking on tips, like, every little bit helps. So to be able to say, yeah, I might have come in and spent 2.5 hours, but you didn't lose any money because I was there. We have definitely, we've been going there for 3 years or so. I've definitely come in on a Friday, after we've been paid, or if we've had a little bit of extra money, and said, like, hey, who needs what? Like, what bill do you have that's due next? Like, how far off are you? Let me help you. So like I said, we're really close with them. They take good care of us. We get free breakfasts and stuff on our birthdays, or one of the employees will pay. So we just try to pay it forward so that, everybody gets a little bit. Service industry is hard. Please keep that in mind when you guys go out. These people are paying bills off of this. Standard waiter wage in America, I don't know anywhere else, but in America, is $2.15 an hour. A lot of times your benefits are very dicey because it's supposed to be based off whether or not you're full-time or part-time. So if you're slotted as a part-time but you're still working 50 hours a week, then it doesn't count. Like, it doesn't bump you into it. You have to be on the schedule as a full-time employee. Sometimes employers aren't super happy to give you that status. I've had friends in the service industry who have come in from open to 4 o'clock, from 11 to 4, gone home and, eaten a meal or taken a shower or something, come back for the dinner hour at 5:30 and been there till 2 a.m., and that's how they make their money. Is if you're not at work, you're not making any money, obviously. So, times like this are really hard, really, really hard for people. So, if you order in, have your delivery driver or something like that, please consider tipping them a little bit extra. I know that that's hard right now. Everybody's struggling, everybody's stretched, but every little bit helps, and if we can spread that around just a little bit during this time where we're all stuck in this place together, then that'd be really great. So, that was a really long, in-depth conversation of how I conduct my Fridays. Obviously, we can't go anywhere. My whole point to this entire thing was that other than our normal Friday brunch date, this is pretty much par for the course for us. I'm very fortunate for that. I'm very fortunate that my husband's hours are not being affected. Our paychecks are not being affected. My investments are being affected. I can talk about that, though. It's not a pretty picture, you guys. This is an ugly time right now. But we are going to get through it. It's going to be okay. It is an adjustment period. I think that when we come out of it, though, I think that people are going to have a new appreciation for unplugging. Maybe a little bit, because the news is really hard right now. The news is super hard right now. And so you unplug that for a little while, go for a walk, and I think it's going to open up the, kind of remind people of simpler times. Like, I don't know about millennial generation or what would be considered millennial generation. I don't know how that would really translate, but I know that for me, what are we, Gen Z, Gen X? Who knows? Anyway, I was born in 86, so I grew up, I was probably 4 when the first Nintendo was released. I remember when Napster wasn't a thing. Um, and so I remember those, like, you had to actually call people, or actually write them letters. And, instant messenger was a new thing, but I mean, it wasn't around long enough for older generations to really understand how to use it. So I was still writing letters to my grandparents, when I was a kid and stuff, which isn't that big of a deal. But I think that my generation, I think, has a really unique perspective because we remember what it was like before all this technology, and then we got to be here while the technology was being developed. So that's been a really cool thing to see our society go through, and it's really great to see how far we've come. But yeah, there's a little bit of nostalgia to having to entertain yourself or having your kids home and getting roped into, I don't know, Smash Brothers, like Mario Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, and that's how you passed your time, was you got all your friends together and played Mario Kart. Whatever your translation of that might be now, whether it's Animal Crossing or Wii Sports or whatever's on the TV now. Yeah, I have not said anything. I hope I introduced myself correctly and actually gave you links and stuff. If I didn't, I'll put it on the screen here and then you can figure it out. How are you guys? Is everybody okay? I know things are really hard right now. I hope that you guys are making it through as best as possible and stressing as little as possible. I know that not everybody has the luxury of turning it all off. And I hope that if you're having to hustle to make ends meet, that your hustle is successful right now and that you're making it happen. And if you're not making it happen, I hope that you have debtors and collectors and businesses who are trying to help you right now. I know in my area, I think that all evictions have been they can't evict anybody until like after August or something like that because of the hit that the economy is taking. I know my financial advisor called me the other day and just was like, I just need somebody to talk to. Like, do you have 5 minutes? I send him things. I send him like funny memes or there was a meme about like people want to go back to the roaring 20s and how like, oh, there was a disease came by and it was like, no, that's not what I meant. And then, oh, the stock market crashed. No, that's not what I was talking about. Oh, look, the bars are closed. And it was like, 2020, no. And he thought that was really funny. It was a nice icebreaker. Let him, blow off some steam because people are panicking. So I do just want to go really quick and say, like, please don't panic. It is hard. It is hard for everybody. Panicking is not going to make it easier at all. The only thing that any of us can do right now is just roll with the punches, and this is what it is. And so embrace it. It'll be what it's going to be. And, do your level best to stay above it, to stay on top of it, and not to let it get you down. I understand how difficult that can be. But panicking, panic buying, stressing to your neighbors, constantly discussing it, right? You're going to burn yourself out. Take a minute for you and just put it away. Just put it away. You're gonna ruin your health. You're gonna end up in the hospital because you have some stress-induced problem because of what's going on right now, and that's not okay. Okay, I'm really sorry about that. We are going through pollen here in the state of Texas. For those of you who don't know, if you're in the military or in any other mandatory organization that can... Okay, I don't know anybody else who does this. In the military, if you have really terrible allergies, you can basically end up with like a doctor's note that says like, I can't be deployed to X place, South Korea. I can go to South Korea because South Korea's pollen counts are so high. I'm going to be miserable and asthmatic and in the hospital, and I can't do it. Obviously, if you have asthma, your chances of being in the military are probably relatively low anyway, but they do have this is a thing. If you have really horrendous allergies, one of the places they will not send you is Texas, because Texas has so many different, I don't want to say climates, because that's not what I'm looking for, but regions. Like we have the eastern, like I'm in the southeastern maritime forest. We have the eastern forest. We have central Texas, which is rivers and hills and all the trees. We've got deserts. We've got mountains. We've got snow. We've got, if you need it, Texas has it to offer. Probably 3 hours away from a different thing that you might want. So my point of that is that whenever oak trees release their pollen, they release it in like spongy little ropes. To be absolutely honest to you, it looks like little tassels of Brooklyn tweed loft hanging out of the trees. It's pretty crazy. It's really spongy. Anyway, I have 5 live oaks between me and my 2 neighbors in the front yard. There are 4 across the street. My whole street is lined with these things, and everything is dropping right now. And so the other day, I went out to give the dog a bath because he has a skin condition that was bothering him. Give him a bath, no big deal. And I was like, oh, look at my sidewalk that is covered in all of this pollen and some dead leaves. Let me sweep that up, because it's not going to make everything better. It's not going to help the yard, really. It doesn't look like it did anything, but it will clean off my sidewalks. And my porch is bright yellow right now. This would be a great idea. I'll just do this really quick. Now, I pride myself on my lack of allergic reactions. Okay, I am a native Texan. I grew up here. And you have to have some pretty wicked stuff for it to bother me. Idaho, I'm looking at you. Boise is inside of a valley, and so everything from the surrounding area settles over that town. And I had, it was so dry, and I had an issue for a couple years we were there. Anyway. In Texas, though, because of the humidity, must be part frog or something, like part amphibian, it was fine. It's not a big deal. This is the first time in my entire life that I have gone outside, done some yard work, and like 15 minutes later, my sinuses were closed, my eyes were watering, I couldn't breathe, and I was just absolutely miserable. So, I have been on Allegra for like 3 days. It finally kicked in after the first like 24 hours or something. I was laying in bed being absolutely just abjectly miserable, reading a book or something. And then literally just instantaneously my sinuses opened and I could breathe. And I was like, what miracle is this? So, but it's not perfect. It's helping, but it's not perfect yet, y'all. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to stay away from the quarantine. It's not quarantine. I'm gonna try to stay away from the social distancing conversation. Just there's so much literature out there about things that can go wrong or things that people are struggling with right now that I feel like I don't really need to beat that. It's kind of beating a dead horse. That's not really my thing. What's up, old man? Sorry, my dog just walked in. He's got an issue with a shoulder. He's been limping today, and he's out of pain meds, and I kind of need to take him in, and his skin's flaring up, and we're just old. We're old today. Grumbling? Yeah? No. Alright. Oh, I hear you. Okay, go lay down. Go lay down. No, sir. Go lay down. Anyway. What? I don't know. I don't know if you can see him. I have a 100-pound lab, and he, I think his allergies are acting up or something too. His ears have been really itchy lately, and apparently you find the good spot and he just grumbles. He just goes for it. It's hysterical. No, I'm not gonna, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not scratching that. I know it itches, baby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He has, the doctor thinks it's some sort of a staph infection, maybe, something like that. Basically, it kind of kills all the hair follicles or whatever, dries them out really bad, and then he gets really dry, patchy skin, and then, of course, he scratches when I'm not around or when he thinks he can get away with it, which isn't very often lately. But he actually kind of chewed himself raw on his hip area the other day, which is why I gave him a bath. Falling apart. It's falling apart on me, and so I'm not okay with it, y'all. Anyway, where was I? I remember what I was talking about, you guys. So yeah, let's get into some knitting. Let's chat about yarn, because yarn seems to be the only neutral subject there is. Excuse me. Finished objects. I finished the green beast, and I will put a photo here. The person modeling it, his name is Josh. He is the dyer behind Red Stag Fibres, which is the yarn that I used. Which is this. This is the Croft DK base. It is 100% BFL. And it is in the colorway. I don't know why I can't remember that. Sorry, Josh. But it's phenomenal. It was absolutely a beautiful, beautiful yarn to work with. I will probably purchase some of this for myself. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. It did block out to be a little bit longer than what my swatch had said. Obviously, the sweater weighs a lot more than what a swatch does. And it was no big deal because it's a bottom-up sweater. That's going to be a pain in the you-know-who to adjust. It's not a big thing. Brooklyn Tweed says to knit that sweater 17 inches from the underarm, and that was just longer than what he preferred. So I'm going to end up taking out 3 inches off that sweater. I've already told, I knit it for the Modern Skein in Montgomery. The owner's name is Sharon. I already told Sharon I'd pop by and pick it up. I'm actually supposed to be on my way to do that right now, but they close at 3 and we're having monsoon rainstorms. Like, we're having a little bit of a break, which is why I set up and figured that we would podcast, because we actually have a little bit of light. So whatever the light is that you're looking at right now, imagine that you took the brightness meter and you cranked it down like 2/3. And that's what my day has been like. It's been pitch black in this house all day long. Anyway, it's a 45-minute drive one way for me. Which isn't a big deal. When you live in a city like I do, like, we're 100 miles across by 100 miles. So, like, that's the greater Houston area. Mileage isn't a thing for me. It's 45 minutes because you take a bunch of back roads and it takes you out of the city. I don't know how to describe this if you've never been to Texas. Texas goes from building to farm. Just instantly. It just depends on what way you go. So going out to Montgomery is a really lovely drive. It's a little 2-lane road. It goes through some really nice farm property and through the trees and the woods, and it's just a really relaxing thing. I really enjoy the commute. But because of course of the social distancing, there is no staying at the shop. You know, you can go in and shop. She has hand sanitizer for you. You can do a FaceTime order with them, whatever. But I'm going to go out there, I'm going to pick up a sweater, I'm going to come home. And the weather is so wet right now. I just don't want to. My husband's going to be home tomorrow, and we can just do the drive together and spend some time together, which would be really great because he's been on 12-hour shifts lately. I'm not getting to see him very much, which is okay. It'll be okay. So, finished objects. I have that one. The fact I can't remember the name of that stupid color is driving me crazy. It's fine. My other finished object is this one. I don't think you guys have even seen this one. I'm pretty sure that I cast this on. I knit this sweater in, I think, like 7 days. We're on social distancing or self-isolation, whatever it is that you call. I don't like to use the word quarantine, okay? I'm just gonna be real with you guys. Quarantine in America's quarantine measures, actual honest-to-goodness quarantine measures, would probably invoke martial law. It would be much more militant than what it is, and we would have a lot more curfews than we do, and there would be a whole lot of stuff that's not happening right now. So, I know we use the word quarantine kind of ironically, kind of jokingly, but there are cities in the world who are on honest-to-goodness quarantine, and that what they're dealing with is a lot worse than what we have right now. So, I'm gonna try not to use that word. So if I use it, like, please be aware that I am not trying to be flippant or make light of what other countries are actually dealing with, because that's a mess. Anyway, we have a lot of extra time on our hands, mainly because I'm not being invited out for coffee or having to see family or doing any of those things. It's just me and my kid most of the day because my husband's still on 12 hours, which is giving me a lot of extra knitting time. Hector is homeschooled. He's a very independent learner. So pretty much I just knit and sit next to him and kind of explain things, or I help him read a chapter. You know, he's at an age where he's supposed to read it himself. We're kind of okay with that. He's not a giant reader. He doesn't like to read. But you know, on the days that we do math, he just sits down with his book. If I would let him, he would do the whole book in one sitting. So I have a lot of knitting time, like where I don't have to physically be involved in something. So this sweater is the On the Grass pullover by Joji Locatelli. I knit the 31-inch bust. It's a little canted right now. This is a faux seam, so it's just a purl stitch up the side for that. It's canted right now because I knitted it in the round, and it hasn't been blocked yet. So once I block it, that will straighten out the body, and then it won't look like that anymore. The yarn is Amanda Hope in the colorway Egyptian. It's an Aran weight, and I'm pretty sure I don't have any tags left. It's around here somewhere. I don't know what I did with it, but I'm pretty positive. No, they weren't tagged when I got them. They weren't tagged because they were the last of a stash that she had. I want to say she told me they were merino cashmere, but I've looked on her website and on like Ravelry and all the listings of the bases that she carries, and I want to say that they're not. I want to say they're merino with baby alpaca and silk, maybe. I don't know. But if it is alpaca, I'm kind of afraid to drench it because I don't need it to be any longer and I don't need it to be any wider. But because it's Aran and it's seed stitch, I don't know if steam blocking it is going to be enough. Y'all help me out. Tell me what you think. So I knit the top and the sleeves on a size 7. I knit the seed stitch on a size 8. I knit the ribbing and the cuffs on a size 6. These are all US measurements. I used sewn bind offs for all of the cuffs and the hem, which is my preferred way to handle tubular. So I knit a lot of Brooklyn tweed patterns, and the way that they have you do your tubular bind off is to have 2 setup rows. So one row you will slip all the knits and purl all the purls. And the next row you will knit the knits and slip the purls. And then you will take another needle and you will put your purls on one needle and your knits on another needle, and then you'll Kitchener them. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's time consuming and I hate it. I've done it. I'm proficient at it. It looks really nice. I personally find the sewn tubular just to be faster. And I like the finish of it. And I think that it's a little bit stretchier. While They Play Knits, who is Kalura Hudson, has a really wonderful YouTube video for how to do sewn tubular in the round. And it is 1 by 1. So if you have a 2 by 2 rib, then the Brooklyn tweed, is better because when you set up for your Kitchener, you have purls and then knits, so you knit 1 and 1, so you basically bind off in a 1 by 1 pattern. But the way that it's set up makes that a lot easier. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so it's 3 by 1 rib down the arms, seed stitch on the body. Super simple, super fast. Went really fast. Now, I knit the 31-inch size because it's not for me. So for anybody who's watching the podcast for a while, I am probably a good 10 inches over that, like my natural bust size, my full bust size. So here's what I did. I knit this for a girlfriend of mine who lives in Arizona. And she has a condition, and it's Ehlers. I'll put it right here. It's called EDS. Anyway, she gets cold super easy. Just super easy. Like, I knit her an alpaca shawl, and I think she wears that underneath a light jacket in the middle of 110-degree summer. So I figured that this yarn would be perfect for her. Not only that, and when I got my yarn, my batch discrepancies were such that I have this one. So I had 9 skeins. So I had 6 skeins that look like this, and then I have 3 that look like this. And these are completely different colors. Like, I understand hand dyeing and batches. Like, I understand that you're going to get some variations and some discrepancies, but Egyptian is supposed to be on a cream base. So I don't have enough of the dark ones to alternate with the light ones in order to make a cohesive fabric. I basically just don't have enough yarn in this color to make a sweater that's going to work. So I found a girlfriend who is smaller than I am, and it worked out really well. So these are her favorite colors. Her favorite colors are kind of that saddle brown, kind of like a butter yellow type thing. This is a little bit more orange than I think what she was looking for, but it'll be really pretty on her. She's dark complected, or not dark complected, but medium complected. She's Hispanic heritage, and it'll be really beautiful on her. It'll bring out her skin color really pretty. And she's really excited, so I'm happy with it. And I think I'm going to send the remaining 3 skeins that are darker. I think I might send them. Ian and Julie of Sweet Sparrow were talking, and she and I are besties, which is great. And I had asked her if she thought that she could over dye it and maybe turn it into something that I would be more likely to use. So she said she might try, so maybe I'll do that. Yeah. So something that you did see last week, Jesus, it was not last week. It's been like 6 weeks, you guys. I'm sorry. Something you did see the last podcast was my Myrtle sweater, which is by Kate Davies. And it looks like this. And so now I'm going to look at this on the camera, I'm sure, and be like, oh, that's not so bad. But I have put this on in the mirror, and this is not my color palette. I'm not going to wear this. So as pretty as it is, and as much as I like it, and as many ends as I have put up with, I just don't see myself wearing this. This just isn't something that, I'm not really a multicolor sweater kind of person. I don't know if it's the gold or the blue, or if it's just the combination of all of these things together that I'm just really not a fan of. So I haven't put sleeves on it. It's supposed to fit relatively similar to the one I'm wearing, which I'll talk about in a minute. I know I totally skipped that. But yeah, I'm just not digging it. So I don't know that I'm going to finish this. Or if somebody pops up and I love it, and then I'll put some sleeves on it for you and you can have it. So yeah, it's not a fail, but it's not a success. However, I do like the little mini stripes and the contrasting neckline and hem. So, what I think I'm going to do is take that idea and that fit shape, and I think I'm going to omit the lace. And maybe I will keep the ratio of stripes, but I'm going to do it in 2 colors. And so while we were in New York, we went to Brooklyn this time, and I didn't get to go to Brooklyn last time. Let me back up. For those of you who might not know, my husband took me to New York City for our anniversary in the end of October. He always takes me on a trip for my birthday. And my dog had surgery and my son got sick, and we just kind of never got around to taking it. We were going to go to New Orleans for my birthday, which is the end of January. And one day I was looking at Kayak and was like, hey, flights to New York City are $120. I really enjoyed that trip. And he was like, well, great, let's go again. And we did. And we took my brother-in-law with me this time. So we didn't take my son this time. We had an adult trip, which was really cool and really handy because it was 31 degrees or 27 degrees. And if you've ever been to New York City or a large city, you will know that in between the buildings, the wind howls. And it was freezing cold, which is okay for us. Like, we're grown. We can put on layers. We got knitwear. We're fine. But my son, it would have been less of an enjoyable trip than the last one where he had a great time. So we went to Brooklyn and wandered around Park Slope, and I wish I would have been a little bit smarter about that because I was texting Jacqueline Salem from Brooklyn Knit Folk, and she's like, I wish I'd known you were going to be here. And I was like, I wish I would have thought to tell you I was going to be here. But we were wandering around Park Slope because I asked her, I was like, where do I go? Like, we're in Brooklyn. What do I do? Like, it's cold. We can't do the bridge. We can't do the water. Like, we're just going to be here for a little bit and we're going to wander around for a while. What should I do? And she was like, you should do see the architecture on Park Slope, like the brownstones and stuff. That's awesome. I want to do that. So we're doing that. And we ran into this little place. You might have heard of it. It's called String Things Studio. And I knew it was in Brooklyn, but because I've never been to Brooklyn, that didn't really mean anything to me. And we literally just accidentally stumbled across it, which was fantastic. So we walk in and it's this tiny little yarn store and she has really cool stuff. Something that I did not buy any yarn in October. I have not purchased yarn I haven't purchased yarn in probably a year and a half, maybe. So whenever I knit, when I sample knit, either I'm repaid in yarn or I'm repaid in cash. It just depends on what kind of deal I've made with the client. And a lot of times that's what I use for my yarn, because I have a lot of single skeins, I have a lot of stuff up here, but none of it really works together. And so I'm trying to get I've been knitting long enough that I've kind of figured out what my style is. I've kind of figured out what I like in a sweater, and I try to use that for sweater quantity so that I can build up the stash that I'm going to actually use. And then I can knit down the other stuff. But String Thing had Lola Bean. And now, as far as I'm aware, nobody in my state carries Lola Bean. I have 2 yarn stores that are on the stockist list, but, Adela is very busy. She has a pretty decent wait list, which is totally understandable. So I've never seen it in person. And so when I was in String Thing, they had this beautiful crimson color. It was a little bit deeper than this. It was fantastic. And a super dark purple. And I was like, oh my God, I want both of those things. And then they had this, and this is called Georgia Peach. Now, not normally my wheelhouse. It's a color that looks really good on me. It goes well with my skin tone, with my eye coloring, with whatever. Like, it's a color I put on my toenails all the time, or I wear an undershirt, or, when you're buying underwear, like, this is a color I like a lot, but I don't actually own a shirt. I don't own a sweater. I don't own anything. Well, I really want some of that. Now, if I were smart, because I live in Houston, I would knit like a salty blue or a lounging top. And I'll put those here so you can see what they look like. They're just, little sleeveless type t-shirts. I should do that with this. It would be really pretty, like a nice summery top. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to, but then I was thinking about that sweater that I kind of like with the myrtle, with the contrasting cuffs and everything, and this little stripe that runs through it. And what if I took out the lace and it was just plain stripes? Then I could use this super deep stash yarn, and I could make that my little micro stripes and my contrasting cuffs and stuff. And that would be a really cute springy sweater kind of thing. Not that I'm ever going to get to wear it in a city like this, but that's okay. We travel a lot, you guys. I need clothes for all weathers. Plus, I homeschool. And you know what? Sometimes in the state of Texas, you can be over air conditioned. It's possible. Ask me how I know. Or when I go out for waffles and it's freezing cold in my brunch place because they don't know how to work a thermostat. Bless their hearts. They're such cute little kids. Anyway, so I was thinking that I might do that. This is incredibly old stash. Like, this is from the first couple months that I learned how to knit. And it's a Wonderland Yarns, who has really beautiful colors. And they all have really fun names. So this one's called Cabbages and Kings. They're all Alice in Wonderland base. And the base is a sock fingering. It's 100% superwash merino. It's a Cheshire Cat base. And it's 512 yards for 4 ounces. So you get a lot of yardage in this. So yeah, I was thinking that I might put those 2 together just for fun. It would be something that wouldn't normally have or wouldn't normally wear, and it would be a nice house sweater, kind of like my hay. And I'll post pictures of that here. I'm not going to stand up for you. Sorry, I'm lazy and I'm frumpy today, so I'm just not going to. But it would be kind of a semi-croppy. And then just have the stripes, and the sleeves would probably come to about here. And I think that would just be super cute. I think I would wear that a lot. It'd be really wearable for me. My other stuff, I have a bunch of stuff. I hope you guys have time. Or that, okay, when I watch my podcast, and one of my absolute favorite podcasters, and, everybody will know this, is Amy Florence, who is Stranded Dye Works. And I love Amy because she just talks. She just goes, and she always has a story to tell or something. Or Amy Beth from Fast Squirrel, her shenanigans segment, I roll every time. Yarn Hoarder put up a podcast last night, which was the coolest surprise. And normally she has a lot more like family stories. Amber is one of those people that her laugh is usually better than whatever funny story she told you. Like, she just makes you want to laugh with her, and I really enjoy that about her. But some of my favorite podcasts, Hannah, Corner of Craft, is when they just talk. They just talk. And I don't know that I have the skill to be able to sit here and talk to myself that long. God knows I do enough of it when I'm not recording, but anyway. let me know, I guess. Rate me. Anywho, I have a friend in Portland who is about to have her first baby. Now, this is not a great time to be like, I'm going to go to the hospital and have a child. So they are not freaking out by any stretch, but it's less than ideal. And so I thought, I'm knitting a flax. I've shown it before. I didn't bring it in here because I haven't worked on it because I'm a terrible, terrible auntie. Yeah. But I'm knitting a flax out of a cream colored flax out of Mad Tosh, and for the baby. And I kind of started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I know my friend is super knitworthy. Camille is incredibly knitworthy, and I've kind of sort of been not really totally, might have completely signed a contract promising her to make her a sweater. Sorry, I dropped some stitches, so I'm just trying to make sure they're all actually back on the needle. I think I picked them all up. It's not a very forgiving yarn when you drop stitches. Anyway, so I was intending to make her a Novelli tee because she likes really oversized stuff, and she's kind of got a really cute little boho style to herself. And I thought that would be just really nice. And then I just never really got going on it. I don't know, she doesn't really wear maxi dresses or like the linen dresses or anything, which that's really what it's really cute over. And then I kind of started looking at her style, which is more long line, oversized, more like tunicky, I guess, than or more just ease, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Okay, I know what the difference is. And I didn't know if like the color would really fit in her wardrobe or any of that nonsense. So I kind of started looking. I kind of gave up on it, to be honest. And then last night I was going through my library, and I have all of the Lane magazines. So all the editions of Lynn that have been put out I have, except the 52 Weeks of Socks, because I don't knit anything over shorties. So even though it's a beautiful coffee table book, I just don't really feel like I need to invest that kind of money for a bunch of sock patterns I'm not going to make at this point. Later on, maybe, because I should knit for other people, I guess, right? Lord knows I have enough yarn to do so. Anyway, back to it. So I found the Svelja sweater, which is by Beranger Caillot. I think it's Beranger Caillot. Anyway, so my French R's are usually better when I'm not, pollinated. So forgive me for the absolute lack of pronunciation on that one. It's in Lane issue 5, and it is a plain gray sweater with a V-neck. And it has this little lace detail across the V. You use mohair. You're supposed to hold fingering and mohair double. I'm not going to do that. I don't like to work with mohair. That's just me. I don't know if Camille has any sensitivities to mohair. And since she lives in Oregon, finding that out is harder than it probably should be. If I were to knit her a hat, then let her test it. That would be fine. But I don't want to knit her a hat right now to send up there, to have her send to maybe let me know after she has the baby if she... I don't want to do that. I'm just going to knit her a sweater. And so I went stash diving, and I have 3 skeins of red Stag Fibre, who is the same dyer that I knit that green monster out of. This is the Estate Fingering. It is pretty. It is 100% superwash merino wool. It's a 3-ply, and it has 490 yards per 100 grams. You get a lot of yardage. So I have 3 of these. I have 1,500 yards of fingering weight in this really pretty gray color. And so I figured this is absolutely a Camille sweater. This is absolutely a Camille yarn. This would be perfect for her, especially like after baby's born and she's just kind of... she'll be on maternity leave for a while or working from home, and it'll just be something nice and cozy. Oregon stays pretty chilly for quite a while, so it'll be a really great end of spring sweater, or something she can just put on when she's just needs to feel a little bit cozier. You're supposed to hold mohair with it. We just discussed that. I'm not going to. My gauge is roughly the same. It has 8 to 12 inches of positive ease in it. And so that's what I'm making it with. I think it'll end up having... I'm knitting the size to give her 12. So if my gauge is a little bit off and it fluctuates up or down, she's not going to care. Like, that'll be fine. yeah, so that's what I'm knitting for her. I feel like I say more things about knitting stuff whenever, but I don't have anything. So basically what you do is at this point, you knit 2x2 rib for a couple of inches, and then you knit for 16 inches in stockinette. So I'm on that part. It's exciting. But, anybody that wants to knit 15 inches of stockinette, please let me know. My other sweater that I need to cast on today is for my husband, and this is long overdue. Long overdue. I purchased a bunch of Rama 3-ply Stricka a couple of years ago, intending to knit him a sweater. And then I lost my knit mojo and I didn't knit for a year. And so I never got around to it. And then I knit like half of a sweater. I knit the Sawyer sweater from Brooklyn Tweed. And it was beautiful, but it was kind of heavy, a little bit heavier than what I thought. And it's a little bit toothier. He doesn't care about the toothy. But he doesn't wear layers. And he tends to have issues, like sensitivity issues right here on the cup of his elbow, on the inside of his elbow. And so I didn't really want to exacerbate that. He doesn't wear layers, so he's going to wear a t-shirt under it. He's not a long sleeve fan. Like, that's just not who he is. So if he's going to wear it, it's going to double as a jacket, which is why I really liked the Sawyer for that. But, I don't know. I just kind of, the more I looked at it, the less I really thought that he was going to really love it. And I'm going to love this. So now I have it, which is going to be a lot of fun. I have a couple of things in mind for that, which is great because I love a good black sweater. Now, a yarn that I know he does like is Brooklyn Tweed. This is Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the cast iron color. Everybody and their dog has knit with Loft. Everybody knows all about it, but I'll go ahead and talk about it anyway. It's American Tarhi Columbia. It is woolen spun, which means it's super airy. It also means that it's semi-weak. So if you are not paying attention, you can totally split it. It's not that hard. Now, the great thing about it is that you can spit slice it back together because it's pure wool. Once you've knit it, then it's not going to go anywhere. It's not an incredibly fragile yarn. You can't seam with it. I'll tell you that right now. You can't seam with it. You'll just rip it apart. But as far as like knitting with it, I don't have any issues. And so I bought a sweater's quantity of this, and I think I'm going to knit him the Redford sweater, which is also a Brooklyn Tweed pattern, just because it's plain. I wanted something that it needs to be semi-thin because it's going to be warm and he gets hot really fast, and I wanted it to be something he would wear as often as possible. I really enjoyed the Sawyer because it had a Henley neck and it came up and it was going to be warm. But he has another sweater built almost the same way that he looks really yummy and he just never wears it. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But when we were in New York and it was 30 degrees and the wind was howling through the buildings, you can bet he looked at me and said, God, I wish I had a hand-knit sweater today. So anyway, I'll knit that. And if he doesn't like it, then I'll steal it and it'll be okay. And y'all, I think that's finally the end of it. I'm in that place right now where I want to knit 5 different things at once. So I have a sweater's quantity of Sweet Sparrow yarns in the tweed base. This is the espresso colorway. And there is a cabled fingering weight sweater called Airy. I believe it's by Isabel Kramer, that I really want to knit. So I want to cast that on. I have my husband's sweater I need to cast on. I have 15 inches of stockinette I need to knit on this sweater. I would really like to work on my crochet blanket on my granny stripe. That'd be great. Not getting that done. We're off school today, so kids playing video games, and we're just kind of hanging out. So yeah. I wish I had funny stories to share with you. I don't really. We haven't seen family in a while. My father-in-law had a procedure, a surgical procedure a couple of weeks ago. And so my niece was on spring break, and because they ended up at the hospital for observation for 3 days, I kind of ended up with 2 kids for a few days during her spring break, which was not a big deal. My kid and her get along really well. But then, yeah, they canceled going back to school and then progressively just canceled the school year. So, because he's been post-op, we've been trying not to go over there and take everything. You know, like I said, my husband is still working and his shop is still functional. And so you never know where anybody else has been. So, something that I think a lot of people are forgetting right now that I kind of want to just say is that everybody that you see has a life that is as complex and involved and woven into other threads as yours is, if not more. So, the person that you see at work every day, you're not the only person that they see. They have friends and family, and you never know who has what and who went where. And it's like, do you remember that example that you were told in school about how gossip and rumors start and how, like, you tell a story and then, like, the next person who tells that story is not going to tell it the way that you told it? Like, something's going to change. Which is really great in one way. That's how we have a lot of our myths and a lot of our stories and a lot of our storytelling throughout the years, throughout the generations, and that's how we develop a heritage. And in another way, it means things get twisted. And it means that you end up with stuff that you never thought you'd end up with. So I kind of feel like germs travel the same way. Like, they just travel all the pathways. And so the more pathways that you create, the farther the germs go. And so that's why we're doing the self-isolating thing. So yeah, there's been very limited stories because we haven't done anything. Yay us. So, I hope that you got some sort of entertainment out of this, however long it's been, probably an hour now, depending on how much of it I cut out. And I hope that you have a really great rest of your week. I will try to podcast a little bit more regularly during this whole isolation thing. No promises, but I seem to be making a little bit more knitting progress. And so we did go to New York. I didn't take a whole lot of footage. It was cold. And I don't have a lot of really great things to say about it. We went to a couple of the places that we discovered while we were there in October, and so we had some really phenomenal food, and we, it was a little bit quieter because it was the middle of winter, and honestly, the coronavirus had just started, so it was kind of starting to be a thing. So we were able to maybe talk a little bit more with people around us, which was really great. I don't know where New Yorkers get this jerk reputation. We've had absolutely lovely interactions with people, both with our child and without. One thing that I do have to say is that we went to a hand-pulled noodles place. It's called Hand-Pulled Noodles, that's the name of it, in Chinatown, and it's this tiny little closet, and it's amazing. The food is phenomenal. But when we went in October, we went on like a Wednesday or a Thursday afternoon, and it was slammed. Chinatown was nuts. And we went on a Saturday afternoon this time, and it was dead. It was dead, and we were probably some of the only non-Asian people in the area, which was heartbreaking, because it was before the virus became a thing. Like, it was before any of that should have been taken out. It was just really sad. Went to Brooklyn. We went to a place, don't remember the name of it, but you pour your own beer, which is pretty cool. I'll put the name of the pub right here. So if you're ever in Brooklyn, that was a really fun thing to do. They have couches and foosball, and it was just a really nice, low-key place to sit and hang out, and we had a nice time. It was kind of reminded us of our beer gardens down here, but it wasn't outside, obviously. Yeah, so we have all been to New York City before, so we didn't really do the tourist thing. We wandered around and enjoyed the city like we do. When we travel, we like to travel as locals. We don't like to do all of the touristy stuff. So like, we'll walk by the touristy stuff, we'll see it from afar, or maybe if it's something really special, we'll dip in. But we didn't do like the Empire State Building, or we didn't do the Statue of Liberty. So anyway, we're about to lose the light again, and it looks like we're about to get another rainstorm, which I'm super excited about. Our forecast today has basically said between 94 and 98% chance of rain every hour, and then some of them have lightning bolts, which makes me really excited because we live in Houston, partly because of the fact that we get these major storms. And by major storms, I don't mean like hurricanes and tropical storms and stuff like that. I mean, coastal Texas is just renowned for, well, Texas itself is renowned for its thunderstorms. And we've lived in a lot of places where people have talked about, oh, their thunderstorms are so wicked and they're so amazing and they're so loud, and they're okay. So, I'm really excited about the weather today. It's been a few months. Winter doesn't normally have the big storms. We just get the rain. So we've kind of missed it. It's been great. All right. I really am going to go this time, I think. I might open a question and answer thread. I'm not going to do it in the Ravelry group. That's too much work. If you have a question for the next episode, feel free to leave it in the comments below. If I get enough of them, maybe I'll include that. Maybe I won't. But yeah, the more questions you ask, the more guarantee you have of another episode, I guess. Make of that what you will. Maybe that's a threat. I don't know. Anyway, y'all have a really great week, and I will talk to you soon.